Welcome to the Fit Affiliate Podcast, where with honesty and transparency, we talk about all things fitness, coaching, and gym ownership, so that you can feel less crazy and frustrated and alone, while you also find more freedom and make more money.
And welcome back to this week's episode of the Fit Affiliate Podcast. And today I'm joined by Fit Affiliate's very own Scott. How are you going, mate?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to chat to you. You're one of the newer members of the team, so it's really good to get a little bit more insight into what you do for us. And also today I know it's one of your areas of expertise, but I thought we would cover something particularly interesting, and that is the role of VAs and how they can help affiliate owners and maybe give a bit of understanding. I think there's a bit of a grey area about, it's a big mystical thing. Do people find someone random on Upwork and hope to goodness that they can do the job for them? So, and then affiliate owners like, well, what can they do for me? So I thought that was a good topic of discussion today. So firstly, I guess to kick off, if you want to give us a little bit of an idea of, the role that you fill with Fit Affiliate and how you're supporting affiliate owners, and we'll go from there, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Scott, and my biggest role with Fit Affiliate is definitely helping with like the project management side of a gym owner and what they're able to accomplish on a day to day. More importantly, hey, we want to put out a project, we want to put a new supplement line out, we want to add a different offer. Great. Let's talk about how we can get that done and actually put timetables on it, actionable steps, and then obviously like something like a VA, if there's need for extra support, then be able to provide that resource to an affiliate. So that way they're not feeling bogged down, they're not feeling stuck, and they get a support team around them essentially. So it's definitely one of those things that just adds to like having the information from the portal or any other, or even a coach to then be like, what's some action steps and how do we go about doing it without feeling overwhelmed or having too much to think about.
So you just touched on it there briefly, the Fit Affiliate portal. Do you want to give us a little bit of a background on that, what that is for affiliate owners who, jump on board with Fit Affiliate, and how that takes them through the next step of their journey of with us?
Yeah, the portal's like the easiest way to think about it. It's going to be like a one size fits all. Hey, you need some information on how to take the next steps in your business for scalability, profitability, and more importantly, long-term growth with your team building. Then you can kind of jump into the portal and actually get access to exactly what you need at any given time. It's definitely not designed to walk in and watch 77 hours of some rando video. It's really designed where it has a step-by-step approach. However, you can start learning wherever you're at. And then my job on the back end is like the project management, like, where are you? Fantastic. Let's use this segment or this resources as the basis of where we're going to start our conversation and a resource to then drive momentum forward.
Oh yeah, fantastic. And I know I've had a fair look around in there as well, and it's just like a giant repository for all of the wealth of knowledge that the guys have gathered over time. But yeah, if you were to start at just page one and start working through every module, you just get nothing done. So it's definitely one of those things where you can bookmark, I need to work on this, and just go to that module and not be overwhelmed with everything else that's in there. So I think it's definitely a fantastic resource for owners who head through that path in their journey for sure, and having you there to give us a bit of accountability and to go, okay, I want to do this. This is what it told me in the portal. How do I go about now implementing that? So for my particular situation, because it's definitely, as an owner, sometimes you hear about an idea and you're like, oh, but it doesn't quite fit for me. So that's awesome.
Right.
Right.
Just real fast, it's like taking off. You go to Amazon, find like 12,000 books on how to do anything, but that doesn't mean you're going to take an actionable step. And that's our goal, is not information you could take actionable steps with instead of getting bogged down with 53,000 different iterations of the same thing.
Yeah. And as owners, progress through their coaching and mentoring with Fit Affiliate, we're used to getting our daily to-dos to work through and stuff to, weekly to-dos. So that accountability helps you get things done, whereas you might normally not have put some things on the back burner or not made them a priority. So I'm just going to give my dog a treat here, because otherwise she's going to be really Feral
I
this
got mine.
morning.
She's probably laying on my bed right now, making my girlfriend
Yeah,
upset.
this is a baby, so she's up and about. So yeah, having that accountability all the way through the process definitely helps. So let's talk about VAs. How I guess that's one tool in the armory that you can use to, if you're saying to an affiliate, okay, you want to work on whatever a sample project might be. Here are all the things that need to do. How would they look at getting a VA to incorporate into that to help them be most successful?
Right. And I think the biggest thing we use across the board, and I've had a lot of experience over the past several years of using VAs across not only like affiliations, but different business models, coaches, consultants, insurance agents. It really doesn't
Mm,
matter. The idea is the same. It's like, what are your repeatable tasks that you do as an owner that you don't like doing or lower your sales per man hour? One of the easiest ways I like to explain it is like, where are you most profitable as an owner, someone who
mm,
owns the business, and where should you be dedicating your time? Typically, in long
mm,
term sustainability, you're talking about training and you're talking about very high end management, big level decisions instead of maybe the group classes or individual training sessions or posting on Facebook. So it really comes down to when you're talking about a VA or virtual assistant, where do you plug them in? And the first recommendation I always look at is like, okay, what 3 to 5 tasks are you doing weekly that
mhm.
are not basically making you money? They do make you money, yes, but at the same time, if you were to reposition yourself in your business and focus on X, that will make you more money.
Yep.
Um, so typically with the VA, you're looking at anything. Well, most people really hate doing social media. If you hit me up on Facebook, you're not going to talk to me until you get to a very specific point in that conversation because I
Mm,
have VAs on my account. Same with if you're talking about running ads or you're running or checking your email or someone
mm.
sifting through your mail. Like that's kind of the idea of what a VA can help you with. Anything you repeat that takes time, that is not as important, that's when you want to start passing that delegation responsibility off. And the
Yep.
good thing about a VA, you can very specifically pick who that person is.
Yep.
Like our biggest ones that we'll work with on a daily basis: social media posts, social media outreach, having conversations, and then getting them and driving them to a sales call, as
Yep.
well as running simple ads. So you're not spending thousands of dollars per month on a media buyer.
Yep.
That's typically where we guide people to. I mean, they can even go back down to graphic designers. Need a new logo? Outsource it. Like I
Yep.
am the worst graphic designer you've ever seen. I'm going to outsource that immediately because
Yeah.
I'm going to get better quality work for $400 than I would
Mm.
me spending 10 hours on Canva.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to note. I know sometimes as affiliate owners, we kind of get bogged in going, yeah, I need this done, but I could just do it myself. Why would I pay, $400 to have something done? But it's understanding what our time is worth. I know when I very first opened, the very first thing I heard through one of the podcasts I was listening to or something like that, it was like the first thing you should outsource, for example, is your cleaning. Like if you're cleaning the gym for 2 hours, probably not as great as somebody who's good at cleaning would do. What could you have achieved in that 2 hours to move the business forward rather than thinking about, oh, but it's going to cost me $50 an hour for a cleaner or XYZ. And I think we kind of get a little bit stuck going, oh, that's $400, but how do I realize that that $400 could actually, in time spent, could actually be help me earn, $2,000 because I'm better set up and look better at it. And I think it's one of the other misconceptions around VA is that we tend to think of a virtual assistant as someone who just responds to some messages and checks your email and or manages your calendar as a traditional assistant would be. And I think it's a little bit hard for people to get their head around that there is so much more depth and scope to the role. And you're right in what you say is that, you're able to direct people to someone specifically for a task. I know in the past when someone recommended a VA before I started, working with Fitfiliate, it was about, I went on to Upwork or Fiverr. I'm like, I don't know if this person's going to be any good. Like, how do you know which one's a good one? And you burn through a lot of dollars trying to figure that out and trying to then have that conversation with somebody who may not be already skilled in operating a gym or anything like that.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's a huge one. I've lost a lot
mm,
of money like working with the people. I mean, hey, I got a VA that can set you 60 appointments per month. And you're like, great, that sounds super. Then $1,000 later, I'm like, wow, I got one appointment. That was not worth my time.
yeah, yeah, and that it is a minefield. Like, yeah, I mean, I know I've even gone on some of those sites looking for someone to do, just to convert a file to a PDF, and you're like, you get something back, you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted. But now I've just paid, $90 for the privilege, and I'm still going to do it anyway. So, um, how do you go? What's the process for someone that thinks, okay, well, let's pick an example project that you would work on, I guess, with something that's the most common with some of the owners that you work with, and where they're going to be able to plug in the VA and how that process would look for them.
Absolutely. I think there's always two of the most common practices that we use VAs for. First being social media. Most people absolutely hate staying on top of consistent posting. That's 3 to 5 times per week, making sure that you're getting some type of resonance with your target market or your target audience within your geographic location of your gym. And most
Hmm.
people say, I hate doing it. I don't want to spend the time. Like, great. You don't have to. We can bring in someone who's a social media specialist for a very small price, and they're going to take all that off your hands. They'll be able to even speak to your brand. They'll know what your brand sounds like. They'll know your voice because you just basically give them the information up front. So that way you don't have to worry that it's going to sound like some crazy person spouting off about your gym or not knowing how to just a basic squat or some weird. So
Mm,
you're really able to give them your voice, give them your character, and they're specialists. These are the people that, like, if you think about it, if you like to work out, they like to be on social media.
yep,
So I hate social media and like to work out. So I'm going to give someone my social media while I'll go work out. So it's
yep,
that mentality. If you could really pass it off, and you might have to provide resources here and there, the same with any of your coaches or trainers, but you're not sitting there staring over their shoulder like some baseball umpire telling them what to do. And things are
hmm,
getting dedicated done.
mm,
Um, and then that turns around and saves you not only your time, your mental capacity, because most people just get frustrated by it, and
hmm,
you're not getting bogged down by the nitty gritty of just doing copy.
yep. And it's
And I would say to add to that, the second one's just media buying, because most
right,
people
yep,
run boot camps, they run nutrition, they run
yep,
28-day challenges, 5-day challenges, and you can go to a company that says, we're going to do your media buying for you, and that's going to be a minimum $2,500 retainer. When
hmm,
in reality, to run ads like that, we have the copy. We've been running them for years. We have
yep,
the audiences. We've had those for years, and we're continually dialing in. So we're able to help our affiliates by saying, we don't need to do that. We'll get you a media buyer for a much reduced rate. They're going to run our
yep.
copy, our funnels, our information dedicated to you. Again, all you have to do is take the calls.
Yep. Yep. And, I've fallen into that trap where, I had a company reach out, say, oh, Google's where it's at. And, we can, there's 800 people a day who are looking for your business and da 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 da. And I went, okay. And it was going to be some ridiculous amount of money that I thought, okay, well, that makes sense. And I think 3 months, and it's like I didn't have one lead come through, and then they come back and go, oh well, it's not a guarantee because it changes the search things. I went, but you guys are the experts here. You sold yourself to me as the
Right.
expert. So, and they're like, oh well, we're not really sure what the thing. It's like, hang on a minute, but aren't you the expert? So, yeah, I understand that is definitely a minefield, and having that access to someone to do that stuff, particularly to copy. Like, we open gyms to help people, not write, creative content. And I've done the old sit in front of the laptop going, what am I going to write about today? And it's having a call to action in the right place, and those sort of things can make a huge difference. And, you know, I guess the analogy I was talking to a client about is, if you want to get your car fixed, you're going to go to a mechanic. You're not just going to poke around. You could poke around in it yourself, but you're probably not going to get very far, and it's probably going to cost you more long term when you, bugger it up, for want of a better term.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're 100% spot on. It's kind of like, what is your, like, where are your strengths? Like, aces in your
Mm,
places is a term we
yeah,
used a lot in like business. Like, I'm not going to put someone who hates doing, like, if someone hates teaching people how to do fitness, why would you ever have them be your fitness coach or
mm,
like a trainer? Because they're just going to
yeah,
hate their job and hate their lives. The same with a lot of affiliate owners just don't like doing the bare bones of like what you mentioned, cleaning. Why should you be cleaning? Should you be running payroll
yeah,
every single day? If you're
yeah,
spending 30 hours a week on payroll, I'm sure there's something else you could be doing that's more profitable.
yeah,
Unfortunately, you see it across the spectrum, not only with affiliates, but with other owners. It's the not wanting to give off that responsibility because they don't feel like someone else can embody what they do or get off the
mm,
same branding or vibe. But in reality, if you give your information to an expert and they help you through your journey, they're going to embody what you want,
yeah.
especially when that's what they do on a daily.
And particularly now where, with access to everything from, Google Drive, Dropbox, all of those sort of platforms where it's never been easier to give people access to information and share information. And I guess the beauty of what we're doing, or the work that you do at FitFiliate, is you've already sifted out to find the expert. So that's taken, a step out. You've already filtered through and go, yes, this person we work with, we know, da da da, I'm going to get them onto your project. You build the relationship with them and they start to know before they even start working with affiliate XYZ what that's going to look like, even though they may never have worked with them before. It's kind of a learned process, and they not learn the language and the tone, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And
just a
as
simple
owners,
onboarding, to be honest with you.
yeah, okay, and that's a process you take them through with the VA and say, hey, this is your VA, this is what we need, and make sure everybody knows how that process is going to work.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely like through a simple onboarding form. A lot of that is just getting the right information for the client. Like, hey, this is what I want to sound like. This is your branding. This is your
Mm-hmm.
messaging. This is who you are. Let's get that over to the VA, especially depending on what it is we're servicing, whether or not that's ads or whether it's social media, whether or not that's LinkedIn. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Key is like,
Mm,
yes, through a simple onboarding, you're giving your messaging, you're giving your branding to someone who's going to specialize in it. And the good news
mm,
is it's not like it's a pay per click or pay per copy. We don't
mm,
have varying rates, meaning like one month you spend on a VA $900 because they did some extra work. Like in the other month you
yep.
spend $72.73. It's purely like here's one cost. You know what it's going to cost you, just like if you had a team member, but it's highly reduced because they're not full time. They're not even like
Mm,
1099 and they're not even W-2. So you're able to
yeah.
get that work done at a very finite cost that you know exactly what you're getting into and the deliverables behind it.
And because they're experts, they're going to do what takes you 6 hours to do badly. They can probably knock off in a couple of hours for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a good example is the fine lady who runs my social media personally. Like, what would take me an unexhilarating 4 hours to 6 hours per day, she's able to accomplish in like 30 to 45 minutes tops, and
Yep.
then continue conversations or do extra work for us, like funnel building or
Hmm.
scripting, and that way they can get it done quicker. Then we'll turn around and make higher level decisions on if the messaging we're giving them is correct, if the branding identity is correct, and we're
Hmm.
tinkering and tailoring to make sure that at all times they're getting the right resources, just like a coach or trainer, to get
Yep.
better at what they do for your brand.
Yeah. So it's having a member of your team that might not physically sit with you, but they, still providing them with the same inputs to really improve, that output process. Now, in the looking at discussions I've seen online over years about, oh, well, using VAs, you're taking advantage of people in, potentially other countries that, they're getting paid a lower rate than what it would cost you to have someone in, America or, where I'm in Australia to do that. And that's not fair. Can you just explain how that's not necessarily the case so that people go, it's ethical and it's, kind of that's their industry, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, standard of living across the world is completely different. Like Australia is going to be a little different than the U.S. Let's just
Yep.
like first and foremost, just throw that out there. Besides that, that usually someone who's a VA can do the work at a lower rate because they service multiple clients. It's the same idea as they're looking for mass scale to be able to do their job efficiently to where then it translates into a good standard of living of where they're at. So, yeah, I know that one of the big things is like, oh, you pull a lot of like some companies pull a lot of VAs, like let's say out of the Middle East or like South Asia, or they go to the Philippines or they go into the US. Um, what I can tell you is like we've made some of our, I guess you could say, outsourced VAs stop taking work, meaning they're just like, we're done, we're at capacity. And they're
Yep.
like, oh, that's like 10 clients at a certain price range. That's not too bad per month in terms of like not taking advantage of them because they're only working. I mean, they're working what they want to work too.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
other
right.
thing. If
Yep.
one of them wants to work 30 hours, they're going to stop at 30 hours and say, I can take X clients.
Yep.
Some, depending on what, like honestly, where they're at, they could work 60 hours and feel nothing about it. And they can make a really good living doing it, but it's the same as they're just kind of like a part-time labor for you. They're not on your
Yep.
staff for 40 hours a week, nor do they need to be. So they're
Mm.
able to help a multitude of clients, hence the lower rates.
Yep. Yep. And that's that's the big picture that, people say the old thing, you got to spend money to make money, but it's also spending your time wisely on where your strengths are at. If you've got a coach who's terrible at teaching gymnastics, you're not going to tell them to go run a gymnastics seminar because it's going to go appallingly. And I know as owners, we can sometimes get in our own way as like, oh, I can't release my, bank accounts or the payroll or the, or passwords, but as I said before, the way that we everything's structured these days with LastPass and a million other platforms that you can share information easily, it really can be a seamless process if you have the right person there in your back pocket that that you can reach out to and say, hey, this is what I need, this is not working, and then having also that high level support from you to navigate that conversation as well if things aren't transpiring. And is part of the process, I guess, is that your, oversee is the wrong word, but I'm working with you on a project. You're going to engage a VA for me who's going to do some stuff. Is that a relationship you're going to help manage as well as part of your role?
Yeah, absolutely. Since I help with like the onboarding, getting people accustomed to using a VA, like my job is to definitely make sure that one, you know how to get the most use out of them, meaning
Mm-hmm.
you're getting like the full extent of their capabilities. Like if they can
Mm-hmm.
help out with a multitude of things, like let's get it all taken care of. And as we're like delegating, setting timelines, and following up on projects, if things are not being done, then we can have that conversation with the VA or the team and just be like, all right, maybe this isn't working out. Like worst case scenario, we find a new one.
Yep.
Um, like, are we at 100% success rate with every VA I've ever worked with in the past couple of years? I wish I could say yes, but at the same time, it's more or less helping facilitate, like the same as if you had a teammate that just wasn't performing. Like it
Mm.
happens and we make mistakes, but
Yep.
at the same time, I'm there to make sure that if it is a mistake, we correct it, we get back up and running, and no harm, no foul in the sense of we're not,
Yep.
we're definitely never going to be like $30,000 in the hole or something crazy by hiring a
Yeah.
full time
Yeah.
employee. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we definitely help
And
out with that to make sure that a user's comfortable.
yeah. And that's a big thing as well. I mean, as I said at the start, it can be a minefield if you pick somebody up from a random site and then trying to, deal with issues that arise, and you've kind of got to do it, and then it's a whole minefield of miscommunication and miscues and um, you know, not setting expectations. And I guess that's the beauty of having, someone like you walk us through the process because again, we're fitness experts. We're not necessarily when you open an affiliate a business expert as yet. And coaches need coaches, which is why I think that this is a valuable tool. If an affiliate owner is like just starting out and they're thinking, oh, I just want to dip my toe in and maybe see what a VA can do, what are some basic questions if they were just going to go it alone? Like clearly, reach out to Fit Affiliate. we'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you. But if someone said, I'm just going to poke around and have a look, what would be some key questions, I guess, that they would get some benefit from asking off the bat of the person that they're looking to engage for whatever the task? If we use, say, for example, social media management as an example.
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think the main thing is just like any type of job, it's like, what are the expectations that you are going to get from that VA? What, like social media or whatnot? Meaning, like, what is the scope of work that you're going to help me out with? Does that just
Mm-hmm.
stop at clicking post and I have to give you
Yep.
all my content? Or does that also include copy and video or XYZ? So that way you can get an idea of like, okay, at this price point or at this cost, I get A, B, C, D, E, F
Mm.
actions. And then I can hold that VA accountable to that. Basically like a job description in the most basic
Yep.
sense. So it's just knowing
Yep.
like, are you like, especially if you're trying to find someone that's going to help you at the most advantageous spot, what do you hate doing the most? If it is media, like social media, are you going to cover XYZ for me? Because I really want nothing to do with that. And what does that look
Mm.
like for you to cover that?
Yep. Yep. And also find,
I mean, the worst thing to have is like
find
a bad expectation.
or to actually go into it a little bit blind and go, I just want somebody to do my social media, and you hand that over and they think they're doing one thing, but you have no idea what you really want them to do. You're just like, oh, it's told to get a VA. Check my emails. Like it's not really specific, and you're
Right.
definitely not getting the most value out of it. And that's where the conflict can occur. Is like you may go in and not be clear about an expectation, but in the back of your head, like, oh, my Facebook's going to be amazing now, my Instagram's going to be a stylized grid, and you haven't communicated that because you just went, oh, they're an expert, they should know what to do, and that's not usually the case. They're not
It's
in
just like
your
hiring an
business.
employee.
Yeah,
Just like hiring anybody in
yeah,
your business. If you hire them, like, great, I just hired Jane Doe, they're ready to roll, and then they come in and then they just sit there, and you're like, man, they don't seem to do anything for me. Well,
mm,
did we clearly define their role or what we hired them for, and do they have
mm-hmm,
responsibilities, KPIs, or uh, like expectations? Because until those are clearly set, aka even with the VA, like, and sometimes that's a good thing about a VA. You can get your feet wet in your first hires or your first few hires into different medians you're not comfortable with for a
mm,
much lower cost, meaning risk aversion. Let's try delegating these tasks out and defining the roles and responsibilities. And it's going to cost me multiples less than if I just
mm,
brought on someone and didn't know where to go.
yeah. And it is important to understand too. It's not necessarily one VA can do everything for you. It's going to be multiple specialists. The same as in your business, you have an accountant, you have a lawyer, you have someone who does your cleaning, someone who does your admin stuff. There's and you have your coaches. It's specialist people for the task at hand. I think sometimes it can be, oh, I just get this one person and it's my VA who can do everything for me. That's not the case. It's trying to get the right person sitting on the right seat on the bus. And I agree with what you're saying. It's treating them or considering them as you would a physical employee, even though they're not with you. You still need to build that relationship and make sure that you're both understanding on the same page on the expectations, and that you've given them all the tools that they understand your tone and look and feel and message, and you know even so they could write an email in the same way that you would, and no one would know any differently.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, typically, what's the first thing someone says after they've had a VA for about a month? I don't know why I
Yep.
didn't do this sooner. it's
Yep.
almost it's industry, not it's not industry specific, but I've worked with attorneys in the past. I'm like, go hire an assistant. Well, why would I want to do
Yep.
that? They can prep your docs. Well,
Yep.
I can do that. Well, I know you can do that. Like, but
Mm.
like you could take another
Should you?
call or you could go to a lunch. You shouldn't,
Mm.
because someone can help you with that repetitive task that's going to be just as capable once you've designated to them. And
Yep.
once you start seeing your time saving, because time saving is just as important as money
Yep.
long term, that
Mm.
you're going to see an offset. You're going to make more money typically, and you're going to have more time. So
Yep.
the scales you should always balance into bringing on a team member of sorts.
Of sorts. Yeah, that's for sure. And it is, I think, one of the first lessons that, I learned as I went through my mentoring process when I came on with Fitfully, was understanding what my time is worth rather than thinking, and affiliate, we notoriously fall in the trap of going, well, if I do something, there's zero cost associated with that, when in fact, we're the most expensive person in the business to do anything. So even if you look at what I might bill myself out for a 1 hour PT session, go, okay, well, it takes you 2 hours to clean the gym and you do it really badly. Imagine what you could have done with that 2 hours, even at that hourly rate, But we quite often dismiss what we do as having zero cost. So I could do it. It's not going to cost me anything. But maybe you could have spoken to 2 leads in that time, or converted 2 sales and to a high ticket offer or whatever. And then, you've more than covered that cost of the VA. Do you find that when you suggest it through the project that there's a little bit of, do people often push back and go, oh, no, I don't really need that? Or, apart from the I can do it myself, but, or you're finding that people are generally receptive once they get it, the first couple of tasks delegated, and they go, that's, yes. Okay, you're right, Scott. I'm sorry.
It's definitely when you start seeing the mindset shift in like an affiliate, to where, especially when they've been working with a coach, they start getting into the portal and they start getting the material that says like what you just mentioned, you are more expensive than you realize, / you need somebody to help you. And typically when someone's balling their fists saying, this is my responsibility, you mention a VA, you mention a teammate, you mention something, and it's just like, no, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, I get that. But again, where are you going to be even better? So typically, is if we can get them to the point where they start getting some type of mindset shift in their operations and delegation responsibility, VAs are pretty simple fix, because they're just like, I'm glad I don't have to do this anymore. Great.
Yep.
Like, we're going to help you with this project. We're going to get someone's going to be like basically a part-time worker, but they're going to get everything done in a timely manner, and you can focus on you. As I said, I don't think I've ever run across someone in the 2 years I've been pushing VAs outside of like a corporate world. If you know what, it wasn't worth it that they saved me 15 hours a week. Like, okay,
words never uttered.
Yeah. Like, oh man, I hated not working 75 hours last week. Man, I really missed out. Or I was so mad I wasn't able to post 5 times last week on my Facebook. Man, I'm really missing it. Like, no, if you don't like doing something or you find it so repetitive, the first thing you say is like, thank the Lord. Like, I mean, people like skipping leg day, but it's got to do it sometimes. But the main is like, focus on what's going to be like, what's not going to drag you down long term.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, I dabbled in the space, years ago when it was recommended. And even just having someone who, it's really funny, over the years, if members wanted to go on hold or cancel, they'd send an email. That was part of the process. And we had a standard 2-week notice period your next payment would run. When I replied to the email saying, oh, your next payment will still run, there was like pushback and people being, all kind of, angry. When the VA replied and said, hey, thanks for letting us know. We're really sorry to see you go. Here's the, terms, your next payment run. Nothing. Silence. It's like, oh, okay. And because they feel like they can push back, but they're getting the email from this other person. And even when I engaged her just to do that, is like, just manage my inbox and deal with member, queries about, holds or cancellations. I was like, oh, so much less angst every time I have to open my inbox and reply to one of those emails and go, oh, now it's going to be an argument. It was just so much better, and my mind was clearer that I didn't even need to worry. If a member came to me and said, oh, how do I go about going on hold? Just send an email. We'll take care of it. And I knew that it was all going to be done. The payment processing system would be done. And the icky email, I guess, exchange was non-existent then. It was the weirdest thing.
It's kind of a trickle down effect. You bring one person in, or you start doing one little task, and it seems to have an impact across the board, especially if you focus on those tasks that are just eating your time. Things just seem to start working out, or you start finding more time, or you start finding like, oh, we could be doing X, and now I can actually have a clarity to see that. And that's what it comes down to, is be able to delegate your time.
Yeah. And, get most bang for your buck. I think this has been great, Scott. Super cool information, and really clarified, even for me, a little bit more about how simple it can be for a VA. And I know I'm going to be reaching out to you for some projects that I really need to get moving on. So I keep thinking that I'll do that. So I absolutely need to do that. And I have no doubt that you've got somebody in your back pocket that can help me move the needle forward on those. For those who are watching or listening, there's a link in the show notes to book a call to help solve a problem with Chuck and Tony. There's also a discount code in there. But if you have more questions about, managing projects in your affiliate, taking them forward, working with Scott, reach out via that link. We can definitely have that chat and get you moving in the right direction and give you back the freedom of a bit more time and maybe some freedom of money by what you can create in that time. All right. Thanks for your time today, Scott. Have enjoyed the chat, mate, and looking forward to talking to you again soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No worries.
Thanks for listening to the Fit Affiliate Podcast. If this was helpful to you and you would like to jump on a 1-hour call to solve one problem for free, click the link.